Born Slippy is fading underneath me now. Underworld, 1995. The sound of a British man choosing his own future and walking away with a bag of swag. I think I did that 20 years later in 2015. If you know the film, you know the feeling. If you don't, you might just have a taste and a sense of it by the end of this. My brothers and my sisters, welcome to St. Bart's, to the Sermon on the Rock. The island has a way of making the rest of the world feel very, very far away and very manageable at the same time. On this day, the 7th of May, on a rock in the Caribbean, but very far away in the universe, far, far away, the British electorate are going to voice a protest about the abysmal state of the British economy. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the acid capitalist. I am Hugh Hendry. Occasional DJ, recovering global macro hedge fund manager, father, mushroom enthusiast. Can I say that? When you're listening to music, marijuana is okay, but the shrooms are shroomtastic. Right, anyway, details on Substack. Let's go. Did you know that Raffles opened a hotel in the old British War Office? The building where Churchill stood poring over maps and he counted ships and made calls that changed the world. 5 stars now. 5 stars. That's not the Admirals. I think that's the grade of the linen. You know, the thread count on those beautiful 5-star sheets. Which anyway brings me to the Royal Navy. Britain has 22 ships and 72 admirals. The NHS runs more administrators than nurses. The British Army fields less deployable tanks than Belgium in 1940. Portsmouth is selling the 17th century Citadel. The building next door to the War Office, the Admiralty, that's getting gutted. It's going to be another 5-star hotel. These ain't quirky facts. These are fractals. It's the same pattern wherever you look. A system, a political system, so far beyond its original purpose that is now consuming itself just to stay alive. I mean, it's the local elections. Yawn. Have you ever voted in local elections? Doesn't matter. Let me tell you what no politician will say. The nation state, that grandiose Union Jack waving thing, it was never noble. It was always a deal, a big deal. You give us your taxes, your compliance, and occasionally your kits. And in return, we'll give you defense, roads, schools, hospitals, a floor under your life. For about 100 years, that deal made a lot of sense. Not because it was a new Jerusalem, but because it was cheaper than the alternative. Cheaper than every town defending itself. Cheaper than every family insuring against catastrophic risk. To get the bodies that the state needed for the factories, for the trenches, for the tax rolls, the state had to make promises, rights, pension, welfare, healthcare, a vote, universal suffrage. We came to call that social democracy. 2 things happened that no one in Westminster will certainly admit to. The first is war. The Americans recently dismantled the entire Iranian Air Force and Navy with no soldiers. It was simply drones and Palantir systems. AI moving faster than any human command structure. Think about that. most powerful military intervention in recent years, conducted almost entirely without bodies. You don't conscript a drone. The mass, the millions of ordinary people, the people that the state needed to fight, to work, to pay, doesn't need them the way it once did. And if it doesn't need them to fight, it doesn't need to keep promising just to keep them loyal. The second thing is really the same thing, but it's the AI. Think about who actually pays the tax in Britain. It's not the billionaires. I mean, it is, but it's not just the billionaires. They've got lawyers and Gulf Streams and second passports in a drawer. And it's definitely not the people on benefit. It's the professional middle classes. The lawyer, the accountant, the analyst, the consultant. The expensive, educated human paste sitting between capital and labor. And now a model that costs $20 a month is doing what all of them spent a decade or more training for. And the middle isn't being destroyed. That would be dramatic. Someone might actually respond, it's worse than that. The middle is being made optional. And so the tax base that the state was built upon begins to move. You see, hospitals don't cost less because the memo is written by AI. The debt service doesn't care that the graduates can't find jobs. The ship lists not from one wave, but because the internal cost structure no longer clears. America carried the gun so Europe didn't have to. America spent $22 trillion more than all the other countries over the last 50 years. Bueller, what did I hear about? Did I hear, what, peace dividend? Europe got the peace dividend. Europe took that saving and built the most glorious welfare state. You know, the abundant pension, the early age pension, the shorter working week. Europe called it the greatest social democracy, a cathedral. And you know what? America just sent the bill, which means Europe now has to pay for its own defense. At exactly the same moment that the tax base is being stressed. And you know what? Oh my God, the borrowing cost it's going higher. System is stressed, not me. I'm not stressed, I'm in St. Bart's. The European system is in stress. The model that looks so sophisticated and humane and admirable, you know what? It was a subsidy. It was one part of the world bailing out another. And again, to repeat myself, but the subsidy just fucking ended. So that's the machine. Sitting here in Bar Select in Gustavia in St. Bart's, we need to talk about Britain as the polls begin to close. Because Britain didn't just inherit the problem. The fucking Brits specialized in it. You know the movie, and before the movie, it was a book. But, you know Dune? You know that the most valuable substance in the universe, in Dune, comes from one planet. Arrakis. And the Fremen, the inhabitants of Arrakis, these are men of the desert. And they know every fucking grain of sand. And yet, they are completely controlled by an external power that extracts what the desert produces. The desert men are completely controlled by an alien external force. You see, Arrakis doesn't own the spice. Arrakis is the spice. Arrakis is a spice colony. And Britain thought it was an empire when it was always Arrakis. You know, the financial infrastructure, the legal system, the English language, the time zone, the deep capital markets, centuries old, traditions, good shit. All of it, not a source of British power, but a harvesting mechanism for someone else's industrial strategy. Men greater than me know one thing. They know that you don't become someone else's comparative advantage. They know that you don't let the surplus nations write your industrial future. They know that you never harvest your own people. They know that you build the factory or you become the spice. And Britain became the spice, Old Spice. So I want to discuss how that happened and why it was not an accident. You see, China, let's go back 50 years ago, but kind of in the maelstrom of the political, the forging of a new political economy, Thatcherism, Reagan, the détente with China. China made a decision, a state planning decision, to build manufacturing capacity far beyond anything their own people could ever conceivably consume, to keep it that way by design. The Chinese worker was never going to be paid what their productivity deserved. You know, we had them on a long march from the paddy field to like multi-billion-dollar fabrication centers in modern metropolises. But the Chinese state pact was that those workers would never enjoy the full fruits of their productivity. The state planners in China feared a dominant and cyclical Chinese consumer, a middle class with money and choices and opinions. That's a fucking political threat. And so they held Chinese wages down. I'm not saying Chinese wages did not rise. Chinese wages went up a lot, but productivity went up even more. And the gap widened and widened. Do you know what that does? That suppresses domestic demand. And it absolutely guarantees that you have a yawning gap between what you produce and what you can consume within the borders of the magic fucking kingdom of China. China needed a lot of fucking buyers outside the country. So they went shopping for supplicant Western governments. Hello, hello? Was that London? They found them everywhere. Because to a politician, to the fucking politicians, the deal they offered was irresistible. We, the Chinese state, we will buy your government debt. We will keep your borrowing costs really low. We will fund your fucking welfare state. We will, like, social democratic model. You're really proud of it? Cool. NHS, pension, benefits, shorter working week, universal credits, all of it. No problem. We will underwrite all of it. So the Chinese were compensating all these governments for what? For the fact that they were hollowing out their industries, taking jobs, leading to an opiate crisis, a lack of hope, a lack of ambition. French citizens, British citizens, American citizens placated whilst Chinese factories ran 24/7 full. And as you know, Britain, like, where do I sign? America signed up too. Europe, of course, with that fucking cathedral, signed up. And the thing that makes me really angry, they called it free trade. It was a protection racket with just better branding. So yes, that whole post-Second World War, that thing that's most admired about Europe is social democratic model. It did work. But not for the reasons anyone cares to admit. It worked because you had two elements working together like a pincer. The first clearly was China, the open check, the bride, routing the surplus that those exports generated directly into European, American, and British government debt, keeping borrowing costs really low, funding the welfare state. And the other thing, again, was NATO. America carried the guns so that Europe didn't have to. Free defense from America, free money from China. Europe did not build its utopia. It was purchased for Europe by American soldiers and Chinese factory workers, both of whom never got a vote on the arrangement and never shared in the proceeds. And yet Europe sat in the middle, collecting the peace dividend and calling it European superior fucking value. Clearly it was the best of all worlds. As long as it's too good to be true logic was held in place as long as the price prevailed. Except America, like Samson, America, the most powerful nation on earth, the consumer of last resort for every factory on the planet, the world's free soldier, smiling and paying and slowly hollowing his own industrial base out because everyone told it was a bully. 10 years ago, I saw, and it was against my better judgment. I never like going backwards, only forward, but I saw Simple Minds, and it was a small, intimate concert in London. And do you know what was shocking? The lead singer, do you know what he did all night? He denigrated his talent. He said like the backing singers were way better than he was. I'm guessing he thought that was the nice thing to do. My take from that is, you never be the fucking nice guy. Instead, be the salvation. Be the salvation that people are actually seeking. Trump looked in the mirror and decided America was done being Mr. Nice Guy. And so he's ending both. The military subsidy and the trade arrangement, gone. Instead, he's taking the bill for 50 years of security. You know, the bill that was never paid for, and he's presenting it to the Social Democrats. This isn't coming from some crank with a gold chart and a grudge. This is the acid capitalist, and I'm in St. Bart's. No, forget me. Take me out of the equation. Let's go deeper. Let me quote from the European University, the Institute of the European University, the Florence Report, the most beige address in European economics, the brown shoes and consultancy speak. But you know what they called this arrangement? The one that I'm seeking to share with you? I'm going to use their words, not mine. They called it Europe's reduced responsibility model. That's the sound of 50 years of free riding being quietly confessed, like in the footnotes, by the fucking people who designed the free ride in the first place. They're not angry. They're not even embarrassed about it. They're just noting in the tone of a man updating his spreadsheet that the arrangement is over. The invoice has arrived. Now that means that the money that kept the British borrowing costs cheap, that's going out the door. Okay, so the UK must have a plan. What is the plan? The plan is to polish the relationship with the City of London and pray that the money stops leaking out the door. Think of that. In the middle of the biggest repricing of the economic system in 50 years, Britain's answer is to become a better receptacle for the capital that's already leaving the door. They've read the wrong textbook. They're prescribing more of the drug that caused the fucking disease in the first place. Are they morons? Yes, they are. And the welfare? I don't even know, is that an American term? The British welfare arithmetic makes the trap, oh my God, it makes it so transparent, so visible, so fucking absurd. Britain spends somewhere between 80 and 100 billion dollars. No, 80 and 100 billion pounds. What's that? That's like 130 billion dollars. What does it spend it on? Bueller, what does it spend it on? Disability and sickness benefits. 1.5 times defending the country. You know, like Vladimir, Ukraine, the mullahs in Tehran. They're spending 100 billion pounds so British people don't have to work. I mean, that's fucking incredible. I mean, that should make you weep, but imagine Britain's annual public investment in AI. You know, the single greatest technological transformation in human history, AI. The thing that will determine whether your kids will have agency in the world that's coming. Or maybe it will, if we're unlucky and if we don't manage the situation well, it will determine that your kids are surplus to requirements. The British government is spending tens of millions on AI. Tens of millions and 100 billion on disability. 80 to 100 billion pounds paid so that people don't have to productively engage themselves in the fucking economy. Tens of millions on a bet on the thing that will define the next 100 years. This versus this. We're spending 1,000 times more on standing still than moving forward. It's not a policy failure. It's a Death Star. And the fractal closes every future if you're British. Not metaphorically, I'm talking about arithmetically. Consider this: when the British government tried to cut 5 billion, a measly 5 from the 82 from the benefits bill, 120 of those fucking Labour MPs rebelled and they killed it, bastards. Britain is a state that cannot cut. It can only borrow. And it can only borrow if the bond market keeps buying. And the bond market is beginning to ask a question that nobody in Westminster dares answer. The yield's already. And that's not noise. That's not a tantrum. The gilt market knows. The pound knows. The pound knows what every fucker with a Gulfstream knows. 50 years ago, Britain went to the IMF. The pound was in free fall. The sovereign credit was gone. The Prime Minister stood up and he told his own party conference, you cannot spend your way out of a recession. It was the most brilliant, the most honest thing a British Prime Minister has said in the 20th century or the 21st century. And it destroyed his government. Britain going cap in hand to the IMF, it's not unimaginable from here. The debt trajectory, the structural deficit, the paralysis at the heart of a government with a huge majority. The betting market is not polite. By the time you're listening to this, you'll know the result. The betting markets are pricing a political catastrophe. A government elected 18 months ago on a generationally unassailable majority, 18 months ago, untouchable, and is odds on to receive the greatest electoral thumping that any governing party has ever taken. That's not hyperbole. Like, you can judge, you've read about this, so you know now. This is the asset capitalist talking to you in the future. Price always knows. Irony? I don't know. Let's talk about paradox. They will replace the Prime Minister. They will replace Stammer with an even greater clown who will have better slogans and worse politics. This is a race to the bottom. Now I want to talk about Sunil Setia, Quadrature Capital, a quant hedge fund. Not just any quant hedge fund. Sunil has built a machine that reads markets faster and more accurately than any human analyst alive. Has revenues of $1.5 billion last year. Sunil now, he doesn't need clients. The guy has invented a money machine. What does he do with the money machine? He donates $5 million to the Labour Party. And that is the largest single donation in the party's history. And then what did Sunil do? And I mention Sunil just because I've met him here in St. Bart's. He's a fucking nice guy. He's a really rich guy. What did he do next? He bought Nick Candy's house in Chelsea for £270 million. The most expensive residential sale ever recorded in the world. The man who gave the most money to a government promising to make Britain work. The man running the most sophisticated financial machine in the world. He looked at everything he knows about where this thing is going, and he bought dirt. He bought British dirt, but he bought 2 acres inside the Royal Chelsea Hospital. Georgian walls, fucking lake. The largest private garden in central London apart from the King's Garden. Sunil, he didn't buy gilts. He didn't buy sterling. This is not a bet on British economic growth. He bought the one thing that cannot be rezoned, that cannot be replicated. that cannot be touched by a planning committee or a vision document for the City of London. I am not saying that's hypocrisy. That's the signal. What is the signal? Bueller. Scarcity. The smartest money in Britain just told you exactly what he thinks about Britain. In a 270 million transaction, price doesn't do speeches. Price just moves. I want to tell you something personal now. People always ask, why St. Bart's? And I give them the Belinda Carlisle, heaven is a place on earth, just kind of easier. But the real answer is more personal. You see, I mean, should we talk about this? But I was falling out of love. I'd outlived my marriage. But I've got a trader's mind that reads oscillations, that sees drawdowns as opportunity. I retain an optimism that buys recovery. Except sometimes in real life, there are no happy endings. There was no mean reversion in my marriage. But St. Bart's, and I swear there's a fountain of youthfulness here. You know what? It kept me steady. And now, this is not a humble brag, and I hope you get it, the energy. I am fucking happy. Please don't interpret that as me denigrating the lady. That's lame. I hate when guys do that. Never leak energy. Happy people make informed decisions. I got 3 kids in Britain. And I and others am responsible for handing over dead maps. What do I mean? Study this, qualify for that. Go to the best university. Climb here and the system meets you halfway. Put in the work. That fucking shit worked for me. But that bargain is closing. The thing that confused me, when it was working for me, it was really drawing down a creditor arrangement underwritten by a foreign sovereign. You know that map that I'm trying to hand my kids with the confidence that it connects to like real shit, real life shit? That map connects to nothing. It's like a pirate scroll, Pirates of the Caribbean theme park in Disney. Fuck this question, what should they study? Question is, where is the money? Where is the heat? Where are the kids already living in the future? British universities laminate past glory. My message to my kids is, don't enter that old system. Slip the fence. Sunil has told us that scarcity is the trade. I mean, when has it not been the trade, let's face it? But the digital world is building an abundance machine, replicating at zero marginal cost. I mean, everything that can be copied. Everything that copied will become cheap. And so capital, your capital, has to hunt things that cannot be copied. Rock, coastline, jurisdiction, an island in the Caribbean that can't be printed by a central bank. You know, a friend of mine, he walked a house here last week, $31 million. The same owners of that property, they bought that house during COVID. I think it was 2023, 3 years ago. Do you know what they bought it for? 12 million. 12 to 31, and no one calls it a bubble because no one seriously believes that supply can respond. This is inventory scarcity being repriced against the world where everything else is becoming cheap. When I left in 2015, the best houses in London, this is not scientific, but I reckon the best houses in London and the best house in St. Bart's, they traded pari passu 1 for 1. Same money, different rock. I think that ratio's moved hard against London since. Maybe London is half of St. Bart's now. Maybe worse. And I think it's going to keep moving. You're not pricing property. You're pricing escape velocity. St. Bart's, I mean, yes, it's lifestyle. but it's my short position on the sovereign, on the European sovereign, expressed in rock and salt water. The premium you pay is not for sunshine, it's for the absence of what's happening everywhere else. London is the black mirror. Sellers everywhere, buyers thin, except at the very, very top. Below that level, London is exposed. Tax, politics, regulation, a professional middle class that's being automated out of existence, and a government that cannot find the will to arrest the decline. God rest the United Kingdom. The wealth tax is coming, but the only people left to extract are leaving. Think about when the Chancellor, whoever he, or God forbid she, is, when they stand up with the bombshell, money's gone. Somewhere over the Atlantic, a man will read the headline on an AI device and will laugh hysterically. That man ain't coming back. My brothers and sisters, wow, now you still there? We need to talk about summer camp, same bars, on the rock. Come and look at the scarcity. Come, swim, argue, watch the sun go down, drink cocktails, meet people who give a fucking damn. All skill levels. The dumber, the better. I mean, not too dumb, but you don't need a financial brain. You've got at least 10 million in capital. Come and let's discuss what you do with it. You just need a brain that's still alive. I promise you, mine is still alive. And then remember, Substack, where the full papers live and breathe. You know, the sovereign parasite, click. So I opened with Born Slippy in the underworld, walking away with the bag. The sound of a British man choosing his own fortune on his own terms. I'm closing with, it had to be the specials, Ghost Town. It's 1981. It's #1 in Britain. It's the summer when Toxteth burned. It's the summer when Brixton burned. It's the summer when the post-industrial North was switched off. The band were falling apart. Teddy Hall looked like a man attending his own funeral. And somehow the specials made the most alive music in the room. They wrote it 45 years ago about a Britain that felt like it was ending. They were just a little bit early. I'm done, my brothers and sisters. Press subscribe. If it's late at night, get some sleep. The price will be there in the morning. My brothers and sisters, the price is the only honest thing left.